Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Jeremiah with Svaren Web Studio, where it's my goal to help you master your website. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the 5 biggest mistakes that WordPress newbies make every single day. And I can tell you that I made a few of these mistakes myself when I first got started in WordPress, but hopefully with this video you can avoid some of these mistakes and shortcut your way to WordPress success. At any point you would like a nice little cheat sheet to help you expedite your WordPress journey, then I do have a WordPress on-ramp guide which you can download for free, and it'll help you avoid these big mistakes and help you just push a little bit faster to launching your WordPress website or taking your WordPress website to the next level and making you more comfortable and confident with WordPress. Again, you can get that down in the description below and it'll help you circumnavigate some of these big mistakes that we're going to be discussing. But without further ado, let's get into mistake number 1. The biggest mistake I see WordPress noobs make every single day, and clients come to me with this problem ad nauseum. It's using cheap and crappy WordPress hosting. And what do I mean by cheap and crappy? I mean the WordPress hosting that has the name Blue in it or has the name Gator in it. Both of these, or any of those that have the word blue in it or is very cheap, or even I might even say GoDaddy as well, they are not really built for WordPress. They're built more to just churn customers and to make more money. Whereas a WordPress specific hosting platform like SiteGround or WP Engine is built more to help you get more out of your WordPress website, to make sure your WordPress website's loading quickly. It's optimized for WordPress. The tools that you have in the back end are super helpful, and their support knows what they're talking about when you ask them a question about your WordPress website. And if something is not working, they can actually help you out. The difference in cost here is between $10 to $25. We're talking $10 at the cheap end and $25 at the good end for some SiteGround hosting. And of course, this is after you use the promotional discount that all of these hosting companies offer for the first year. You know, they all want to get you in the door, and they know that as soon as you get in there once, it's going to be hard for you to move. So they're able to offer you a steep discount the first year. So if you want, my personal WordPress hosting preference is SiteGround, and you can learn more about that in the on-ramp guide down below. So this is a tiny little hiccup, but it causes a lot of issues in the future when you go to build your WordPress website and you're ready to expand and get more traffic, and you're hitting these bottlenecks of speed or of capacity, or you just can't do certain things without paying more. These things all come to bite you in the end when you choose a cheap hosting. So be sure to pick out a good quality host platform like SiteGround or WP Engine. Now, mistake number 2 for WordPress noobs is very common due to the nature of WordPress and how prevalent it is in the world. This leads to many different tutorials, courses, opinions, like mine right here, and this can make it so that the WordPress noob is following many paths at once. They follow a little tutorial here and they get a little bit further, and then they go to this tutorial over here and they learn about this theme over here, or they learn about this plugin over here, and before you know it, they've spread out their website and their learning curve across all these different paths. And this leads to a lot of frustration, and most of the times it leads to somebody giving up on the project entirely because they get so overwhelmed. And then you get these complex layers going on, and you have to call somebody like me to help you fix it because you don't understand why this is conflicting with this, and why is this theme not working with this plugin, or vice versa. And it's because you're following too many different paths, which is why I created the WordPress on-ramp guide that you can get down below, so that you can follow one straight path forward for your WordPress website and start creating content without all of the baggage that can be accumulated with various themes and plugins. So make sure whatever you do, even if you don't follow my on-ramp, you follow one guide all the way through until you launch your website and you start to feel comfortable with your WordPress website. That's super important. Otherwise, you can easily get inundated by all these different shiny objects, and a year will go by and your WordPress website is still not launched. So let's not do that, right? We want to take this idea and run it all the way through. So make sure you pick a guide and have somebody guide you through all the way. That will ensure success on this front. Mistake number 3 that WordPress noobs make is having way too many plugins. I can't tell you how many times I brought on a new client and they have 20 plugins. Half of them aren't even being used. Half of them need to be updated, or they're a security vulnerability, and they don't know how to use them all, and they're not really even sure why they have them or why they downloaded them in the first place. And this is a big problem because having too many plugins on your website can seriously bloat your website to slow things down. And also the bigger issue is some plugins can have security vulnerabilities if you aren't picking a reputable developer. So this is why it's really important to keep things as simple and clean as possible. You want to have minimal number of plugins live on your site, and really only pick out the most common, widely used and reputable plugins. And even then, you need to be careful and make sure you update them frequently. And so that's why if you have a smaller number of plugins to keep track of and update, then you're gonna more likely have a secure or a more secure website. So what plugins do I recommend? Well, if you're using SiteGround, you can use their SiteGround Speed plugin, and you probably want an SEO plugin like Yoast SEO or Rank Math SEO. I personally use Yoast SEO because I haven't taken the time to make the switch over to Rank Math, both of which are highly regarded for SEO. And then after that, you kind of want to be careful about what you download. You want to make sure you have a very specific purpose and goal in mind when you download a plugin. Sometimes you download a plugin when it could be easily done just by having a little bit more research, or having a developer or designer like myself come in and custom code something so that you're not opening a source hole for hackers to get in. So keep things simple. Again, in my WordPress on-ramp down below, you'll get my top recommended plugins, and this can help you get started, because that's what's most important, is getting things going and getting comfortable with your WordPress website. Number 4 is something that is very common nowadays, and even more so back in the day when the WordPress library was still kind of the wild, wild west, is using a cheap or free theme. Now, I would even say some of the premium themes you got to be careful of. The theme is like the skin of your website. And if you pick a WordPress theme that is bloated and full of all these crazy features because they're trying to please as many different types of customers as possible, this leads to a very bloated theme, and nothing you can do will speed things up. And on the flip side, if you're using a cheap or a free theme, you don't know who developed it, you don't know if they followed best practices, if it's going to be mobile friendly, if it's going to scale with your website. And so all these things are things you need to be careful of. Make sure you use a good reputable theme, and make sure you read all the bad reviews on them as well, because sometimes a lot of people will get paid free, or they'll get paid to leave good reviews on their themes, right? So I personally use Carbonate for my WordPress theme on Svaren Web Studio and some of my clients' websites, but Carbonate is not for everyone. And if you're curious about Carbonate, I do have a video coming out here shortly where I review it. But again, it is not for everyone. It's more for those who are looking to be a content-first business, which I would argue every website should be. Every business needs to be content first, because that's how you can get more customers. But alas, we'll leave that conversation for another video, another day. So make sure that you choose a good, reputable theme, and maybe pay extra for the premium theme so that you know that you're getting a well-rounded theme that is going to be secure and robust. Now, the final mistake that WordPress noobs make is actually a mistake that all website creators make in their first foray into WordPress or website creation and trying to get their name out there on the internet, and that is not having a single goal for their website. You can tell when a WordPress creator or a website creator has no idea what they're doing. No, I don't mean any offense by that, but when you're new to the game, you really don't have any idea what you're doing. You're drinking from a fire hydrant, trying to learn all this stuff. And usually this leads to business owners or website creators having a million different things for you to do when you land on their site. They've got, download this thing here. They've got join our email list. They've got buy this thing over here. Check out this ad right here. Go read this new article over here. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. They've got all these things, and they're just trying to like throw all this stuff at you to get you to do on your website. This is a disaster, and you do not want to do this. You want to make sure you have a single attainable goal on your website. Sometimes you can have a secondary goal if it's very minimal and it's kind of out of the way, or if you have an e-commerce shop and you have multiple products, that's one thing, right? But if you have a content-based business where you are trying to sell multiple different things, you might think about selling those things in emails or kind of nurturing people to that point. Really, the single goal that you should have on your website is to have somebody join your email list. This ensures that when somebody lands on your website, and if the single goal is to get on your email list, then when those people convert and get on your email list, you can actually try to get their attention again later on and sell them something later on. And this is huge because most people will, Google something, get the answer they want, and then they're out of there. They'll forget your website name and they'll forget all about you. But if you continually show up in search results or in YouTube results, and you have an ecosystem of good advice for them, or you help them in some way, and then they eventually join your email list, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to contact them even when they're not needing something out of you. So it's very important for you to grow your email list, because that is where the money is made, and that is where you'll have that one-on-one connection with your audience versus something like Instagram or YouTube or even Google, where the game could change and all of a sudden you don't get your audience that you were getting before on Facebook or Instagram. So make sure that you have a single goal. Ideally, that single goal is to join the email list. Again, if you are new to WordPress and you're trying to figure it out, download the free on-ramp cheat sheet below, and that'll help you navigate through this interesting world of WordPress, and hopefully will help you avoid some of the landmines along the way. If you have any questions at all, be sure to leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.